This is the poem Persimmons by Lee Young Lee. In sixth grade, Miss Walker slapped the back of my head and made me stand in the corner for not knowing the difference between persimmon and precision. How to choose persimmons. This is precision. Ripe ones are soft and brown spotted. Sniff the bottoms. The sweet one will be fragrant. How to eat. Put the knife away. Lay down newspaper. Peel the skin tenderly, not to tear the meat. Chew the skin, suck it, and swallow. Now, eat the meat of the fruit, so sweet, all of it to the heart. Donna undresses. Her stomach is white. In the yard, dewy and shivering with crickets, we lie naked, face up, face down. I teach her Chinese. Crickets, chai chai. Do, I've forgotten. Naked, I've forgotten. Naiwu, you and me. I part her legs. Remember to tell her she is as beautiful as the moon. Other words that have gotten me into trouble were fright, wern, and yarn. Fight was what I did when I was frightened. Fright was what I felt when I was fighting. Wrens are small, plain birds. Yarn is what one knits with. Wrens are soft as yarn. My mother made birds out of yarn. I love to watch her tie the stuff. A bird, a rabbit, a wee man. Miss Walker brought a persimmon to class and cut it up so everyone could taste a Chinese apple. Knowing it wasn't ripe or sweet, I didn't eat, but watched the other faces. My mother said every persimmon has a sun inside, something golden, glowing warm as my face. Once in the cellar, I found two wrapped in newspaper, forgotten and not yet ripe. I took them and set both on my bedroom windowsill, where each morning a cardinal sang, "The sun, the sun." Finally understanding he was going blind, my father sat up all one night waiting for a song, a ghost. I gave the persimmons, swelled heavy as sadness and sweet as love. This year, in the muddy lightning of my parents' cellar, I rummaged looking for something I lost. My father sits on the tired wooden stairs, black cane between his knees, hand over hand, gripping the handle. He's so happy that I've come home. I ask how his eyes are, a stupid question. All gone, he answers. Under some blankets, I find a box. Inside the box, I find three scrolls. I sit beside him and untie three paintings by my father. Hibiscus leaf and white flower. Two cats preening. Two persimmons, so full they want to drop from the cloth. He raises both his hands to touch the cloths, asks, "Which is this?" This is persimmons, father. Oh, the feel of the wolf tail on the silk, the strength, the tense precision in the wrist. I painted them hundreds of times, eyes closed. These I painted blind. Some things never leave a person. Scent of the hair of one you love, the texture of persimmons in your palm, the ripe weight. And then this was the exploitation. The poem Persimmons shows the conflict of how the immigrant child is struggling with words and the communication behind the words. The reason that I know this is a conflict is because the author describes how he is being punished by his teachers because he was not knowing the difference between persimmon and precision. With this quote, I can see how easy it could be for an immigrant child to get the words persimmon and precision mixed up because they sound so similar and that English is not the child's first language. As the author goes on, it can be seen that the child actually knows the difference between the two words. He just puts them as a pair and uses them to describe each other, like when he says, how to choose persimmons. This is precision. Ripe ones are soft and brown spotted. Sniff the bottoms. He is using persimmons to describe precision and how it takes precision to pick and eat your persimmon because it has to look a certain way, feel a certain way, and taste a certain way. Finally, with the lack of communication between the child and teacher, it becomes very difficult for the child to learn and very difficult for the teacher to teach because she has become impatient with the student falling behind. Communication is important because without it, it becomes very difficult to understand something or someone. Furthermore, the poem is very strange in the type of words the author uses and the different scenarios that seem to have nothing to do with the meaning behind the story. An example of this is when the author starts to talk about this girl named Donna, who could be his girlfriend or wife. But it is strange, very strange to talk about her the way he does when he is talking about a child in school struggling. A line states, Donna undresses, her stomach is white. What's confusing about this passage and quote is that it seems to strive away from the meaning of this poem as to where the author is talking about the woman, Donna, that he loves very much and what they have shared. It could also be argued that this passage actually strengthens the theme of this poem because the passage it shows the miscommunication between the two since they share physical sensation and not a lot of communication since he is teaching her Chinese. Also, the teacher describes the persimmon as a Chinese apple. And this is a very interesting selection of words because the author seems to be offended by this since it could be referred to as a persimmon and that's the way it is in his culture. With the language and miscommunication within the story, it helps determine the theme as being a miscommunication between one another. The poem ends with, some things never leave a person. Scent of the hair, one you love, the texture of persimmons, in your palm, the ripe weight. In this quote, it tells that no matter what happens to you, some things will never leave your mind because you love them so much. It doesn't matter how big or how small something is, it still puts a heavy weight on the heart and mind. This unmasks the conflict of how the child was having a hard time with words, but he has a certain way of unknowing and understanding them, and that's something that will always be a weight on his heart.